At 19, Clara Whitmore believed her life would be as ordinary as the farm she grew up on. Quiet mornings, milking cows, long afternoons tending vegetables, evenings listening to her mother's soft humming by candlelight. But everything changed the day. Her father returned from town with a grimness in his face deeper than the drought that had been devouring their land for months. Their farm was failing, debts were rising, and the banks had stopped waiting. He told her there was only one way to save the family name. She would have to marry Elijah Boone, the reclusive millionaire cowboy whose ranch stretched wider than the horizon itself. Clara had seen him only a few times, always from a distance, always silent, always alone, like a shadow cut from mountain rock. Her mother cried for hours, and Clara felt a storm inside her chest that she couldn't swallow. She didn't want this marriage. Didn't want to be traded like a sack of grain, simply because her father's pride wouldn't allow bankruptcy. But Elijah Boone arrived the next morning, tall and rugged, broad-shouldered, his voice deep and quiet like thunder far off in the hills. And without much ceremony, the deal was struck. Clara felt more like a prisoner than a bride. The wedding happened. So fast she barely remembered her own vows, only the sound of people whispering that she'd landed a fortune, that her family would now be saved, and that Elijah Boone never took a wife before because he didn't need anyone. She rode to his ranch with her heart in pieces, her wedding dress dusty from the long journey, while he remained distant, unreadable, offering her nothing but a curt nod and the space of a stranger. She wondered what kind of life awaited her. When she arrived at Boone Ranch, she expected a mansion, but instead she found a land that looked like it had been carved by God's own hands. Sunlit fields rolled like waves, horses galloped freely, and the mountains guarded the property like sleeping giants. Yet even the breathtaking beauty didn't calm her fear. Elijah led her inside the ranch house, but spoke little. She couldn't understand him. Was he cold, nervous, angry? She had no clue. Days passed, and though he treated her with politeness, he kept his distance as if terrified to disturb her. Everyone in town whispered that Elijah Boone was a mysterious man, hardened by tragedy, a man whose wealth came from years of brutal work and a past he never spoke about. Clara felt like she was living in a stranger's home, a stranger's world, a stranger's life. But one morning, just as the sun spilled gold across the fields, Elijah knocked on her door and asked her to follow him. She didn't know whether to be scared or hopeful, but she walked with him anyway. He led her out to the orchard behind the ranch, where a single young apple tree stood in freshly tilled earth. Dirt-stained tools lay at its base. Elijah turned to her and finally spoke more than a few words. "This is yours," he said quietly. "Your land, your orchard, your future. I bought your family's debt, not you." Clara froze. "I didn't want to force you into anything," he added. "I only married you because your father insisted. But you are free here, free to build something that belongs to you." Her chest tightened. Elijah pointed across the ranch, and Clara noticed he had fenced off an entire section of fertile land. Soil prepared, seeds ready. He had spent weeks working on it himself. "For her, your wedding gift," he said. "A life that's yours, not one forced on you." She didn't realize tears were falling until the wind cooled her cheeks. The town had expected jewelry, riches, or a mansion. But Elijah Boone's gift was something far greater. Freedom, respect, a future she could shape with her own two hands. And in that moment the storm inside Clara shifted. Not gone, not solved, but changing. Something new was beginning. Maybe, just maybe, this marriage wasn't a prison after all. And for the first time since her wedding, Clara felt hope bloom in her heart, like the young apple tree beside her. Clara rose before dawn every morning, slipping quietly from the ranch house to tend the orchard that Elijah had entrusted to her. The air smelled like freedom, wet soil, wildflowers, and the promise of something new. She planted row after row with her bare hands, feeling the earth as if it were a living heartbeat beneath her fingertips. At first, she expected Elijah to appear occasionally out of obligation, checking on her work with the coldness of a man maintaining a business arrangement. But instead he watched from afar, leaning on a fence, arms crossed, a soft smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. He did not interfere. He did not instruct her. He only supported her quietly in ways that made her heart ache. Slowly the ranch felt less like a stranger's world and more like a home she had never imagined for herself. Every day she saw Elijah differently. The way he fed the horses before anyone else woke up, the way he let the ranch hands eat first at dinner, the gentle way he spoke to wounded animals, the vulnerable silence he kept whenever someone mentioned family. One evening, as the sky blazed orange and purple, Clara asked him why he had never married before her. Elijah hesitated long enough for the crickets to fill the quiet. "Because love scared me," he said. "Wealth is easy. Work is easy. But letting someone into your life, that's a kind of risk I never learned to take." Clara's breath caught. No one in the town knew Elijah Boone feared anything, but she could see honesty in his eyes. "Then why marry me?" she asked softly. "Because your father begged me," Elijah admitted. "He said your family needed help, and you deserved a chance at a life beyond debt and desperation. He wouldn't accept money, only a marriage that would secure your future. I didn't want a wife who hated me, Clara, so I tried to give you everything I could without touching your freedom." She stared at him, stunned. The man the town called ruthless was sitting before her with the gentleness of a wounded soul. And perhaps for the first time she understood him. The next weeks brought rainstorms, long days of planting, shared breakfasts, and unexpected laughter. Clara found herself looking forward to Elijah's footsteps on the porch. The quiet conversations they had over warm stew, the way his eyes softened when she spoke about her dreams. One morning she found him in the orchard, kneeling beside the young apple tree, fixing the support stakes after a windy night. He wasn't doing it out of obligation. He was doing it because he cared about what mattered to her. "You don't have to do that," she said, stepping toward him. He looked up with a shy half-smile she'd never seen before. "I want to," he said simply. Something shifted inside her, something deep, warm, terrifying in the best way. The town, meanwhile, buzzed with gossip. People whispered that Clara had struck gold, that she had married into unimaginable wealth. But everything changed the day Elijah revealed the truth in front of them all. At the town's monthly gathering, with the mayor, ranchers, and townsfolk present, Elijah walked onto the platform and pulled Clara up beside him. "I didn't marry Clara to save my ranch," he announced. "I married her to save her family's home. And this," he gestured to a detailed map rolled out on the table, "is her land, her orchard, her farm. Everything you think is mine belongs to her now." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Whispers flew. The entire town stared at Clara with wide, stunned eyes. Elijah Boone, the richest, most powerful man for miles, had given his young wife hundreds of acres, a thriving ranch sector, livestock, equipment, and resources worth a fortune, not as charity, not as control, but as a gift of trust, a gift of respect, a gift of love he didn't yet dare to name. Clara turned to him with trembling lips. "Why would you do this?" Elijah's voice broke just slightly. "Because I want you to stay with me for the right reasons, not because you were forced, and in front of the entire town." Clara did something bolder than she had ever done in her life. She took Elijah's hand, held it tight, and whispered, "I'm not staying because I'm forced. I'm staying because I want to." The crowd erupted in shocked murmurs, but Elijah only smiled, the first full, genuine smile she'd ever seen on his face. The apple trees in the orchard began to bloom weeks later, pink and white petals dancing in the wind like blessings from heaven. Clara and Elijah worked side by side every day, no longer strangers bound by circumstance, but partners, slowly becoming something far deeper. A millionaire cowboy had given his young wife the greatest wedding gift the town had ever seen: freedom, land, trust, and a future written by her own hands. And in return, Clara gave him something he never thought he deserved: love. The town never stopped talking about it, and they never forgot the day Elijah Boone's wedding gift silenced them all.